This WordPress tutorial by Mark McLaren of McBuzz Communications is called More About Changing Fonts and Font Size Using WordPress. I did a tutorial a few days ago about changing fonts and font size, and it may have been a little confusing, so I wanted to follow up with a simpler explanation of the technique given there. Here's what we're talking about. Would like to show you how to change a font. There's no way to do this that I'm aware of in WordPress itself right now. I looked for some plugins that might be able to do it, and I was not able to find any of those. So let's take a look at the visual editing window here, and I'm just going to put some sample text. This is a paragraph, and this is a heading. Okay. Now, you can format text by highlighting, and I'll show you this. This is using the Advanced Text Editing toolbar. Both of these pieces of text right now are just in the paragraph format. But if I highlight, say, you can't really see that unless I blow it up. Okay, if I highlight this is a heading, then I can go to the format menu here, and you see right now it's set as paragraph. But if I select heading, this is actually heading 1. Okay, that pumps it up quite a bit. So this is what's known as an H1 heading in the HTML, and we can see that if we go to the HTML editing window. In WordPress 2.5 now, what used to be the code editing window is called HTML editing window. So I click on that. Okay, and I think you can see that. And pump it up once more. So we have, this is a paragraph, that bit of text, and then this is a heading, now has the H1 tags on either side of it. Okay, so we can change the font too if we want to, but we've got to do that using the HTML code editing window and some code called CSS, or cascading style sheets. So let's see how you do that. Okay, and this is actually, I talk about this in the tutorial on Business Blogging 101. If you need to find this site, if you're looking at the tutorial using YouTube, it's at mcbuzz.wordpress.com, or just try this, go to Google and Google Business Blogging 101, like that, and you'll find us here, second listing on the page, Business Blogging 101. Okay, so that's the site for these tutorials, and we talk about inserting font format, and I give you some examples that you can try. These are called font stacks, and there's a link here in the tutorial as well to a site called Safalra.com, where he gives a nice little discussion of cascading style sheets and the different font stacks, as he calls them, that you can use. So I'm going to pull one of these out of the list here. Font family, Times New Roman, Times, and Serif. Okay, and I've got that blown up a little bit larger so you can look at it. Here's what I'm talking about in the H1 tag. Okay, so you can insert that. It's a style equals, and then quote, font family, Times New Roman, etc., second quote, and that goes in this beginning H1 tag. So let's try that. I'm going to copy that go to my HTML text editing window. Okay, you can see that pretty well. Click in the H1 tag right there between the 1 and the right bracket and insert the formatting for the font. Now let's have a look at that. I'll save that. Okay, that's done. We'll go out here. Oh, no, we won't, because it's not published. So I'll look at preview. Okay, if you can see that, I've got this as a heading, but it's obviously in a different font. That's Times New Roman than the headings are here. Okay, these are sans serif and this is a serif font. And here's our, this is a paragraph text, and that hasn't changed yet. So let's go back and we'll look at that. Here's the, this is a paragraph. Now, as I said, when text is formatted as a paragraph, it doesn't have the P tag that designates it as a paragraph when you're looking at it in the text editing window. Okay, so you have to add that if you want to format that text. So here's what we would do. Essentially, we're going to use this same font family property, okay, but we're going to click in front of this is a paragraph and add the P tag. So P space, I guess I don't really need that space in there. I'm going to insert the font formatting. Okay, and then I have to be sure on the other end here to add the right bracket, and then on the other side of my text I'm going to put the left bracket / P and then right bracket. So that's called the closing P tag, and here is the opening P tag with the style. Okay, so that's all set to go now. This text, this is a paragraph, is going to be font Times New Roman as well. Okay, so save that. Done. Preview. Blow that up a little bit so you can see. Really large. So there's our heading in the Times New Roman. There's our paragraph. This is a paragraph in Times New Roman. Okay, and that's about it. If you want to play around with that, obviously it's not too hard to do. Just be sure that you remember to, in the case of paragraph, insert that P opening P tag and then put the closing P on the other side. Okay, or let's look at this in the visual editing window again. Okay, there's my, this is a heading. I can always format that using the formatting drop-down menu here. Say I wanted to make it heading 3 instead of 1. Now it's smaller. Okay, like that. And you can play around with those. Now when I put it on H3, of course, the font formatting went away. So you have to be careful with that. See, it took it out. And it's now just H3 without the font format. I'd have to go back and grab that if I want to keep it and paste it in there. Donk. Okay. That's how you format a font using WordPress and some cascading style sheets. It's called inline cascading style sheets in WordPress.